Hello and welcome to the goodbye of week 3. What? We're over halfway through? Yep, we're getting there. Yeah. So, week 3 is done. And you know what time it is? Yep, time to say thank you again. Because let's be honest, you all are doing a great job. You make my job so much easier with the community you've formed here. I love to see you all helping each other out. And also, thank you for your patience with me and my crazy schedule. I wish I could say my craziness is over, but it's not. In a couple of weeks, I'm traveling to a conference in Spokane, Washington, so I'll again have some limited internet access because I understand how busy we all are. That's why I'm so willing to work with you to finish this class despite any challenges you are having. I want this to work out for all of you. So, what did we do last week? Well, we practiced making course announcements. We also worked on creating a communication policy. I took a quick glance at what your work you've turned in, and it's looking great. There were great exercises. These were great exercises for building community. Yay, community! Not just a great show on television, though Community, the show, is a great television program. Again, community equals communication. And as a communication professor, I can say that it is all really important. I also really loved the packet that was in last week's module that outlined several ways to create community through various activities and assignments. And the last thing we did was to create an introductory video. Another yay! I enjoyed watching these so much. Now, I know that a few of you had technical difficulties. Welcome to the world of online teaching. Just like you, remember that your students will also be encountering technical difficulties, so be patient and forgiving, especially at the beginning of the class. Now, every video that I saw had something really cool to offer. Lizzie clearly has a great sense of humor and is so vibrant in her video, and I love the marshmallows. John D. has a great speaking voice and clearly commands the space he is in, which is wonderful. Cindy has a wonderful enthusiasm in her video, and a dog to boot. Jacqueline does a great job with discussing expectations and has such a soothing voice while she does it. Madhavi mentions in her video one of the most important topics we should be discussing, etiquette. Yay for that. John S. opens up with a great analogy about the man behind the curtain. That's so wonderful and really welcomes his students with good humor and enthusiasm. Finally, Jennifer has just awesome everything, and in her video was chosen by LSC Online to serve as a model for what an introductory video should have. Wonderful job, and congrats on that, Jennifer. With all of that said, let's review a quick few tips. First, if you're going to be on camera, think about what your nonverbals are saying. Try to smile and be enthusiastic. This is your first impression with your students. When we meet people, we smile, we greet them, hopefully we seem interested in them. Also, work on conversationality, which brings me to the next area. For many of you, writing out a transcript and then reading that transcript might be a bad idea. Well, it's annoying to have it to transcribe after the fact. It will make some of you more conversational if you're not reading off of a script. Jennifer mentioned some transcription software in one of her posts, so that might be a good option. The other alternative is to practice your script a couple of times, preferably in front of another person so they can tell you if you sound natural or not. Next, think about what's in your background. What is behind you? Everything behind you tells a story. This can be good or bad. If you have a bookshelf in the background, it shows you read a lot. If you have pizza boxes in the background, it might show you like pizza a lot or have a messy house like me. Another thing to think about is the sound quality of where you are. It might be worth it to get a decent microphone if your computer doesn't have one, and to be in a really quiet place. Ideally, this place wouldn't be very large. Large spaces tend to create lots of extra background noise. Finally, be aware of the length of your video and think about the purpose of the video. If your purpose is an introduction of the class, you probably want something under 5 minutes. If you're teaching something, you probably want under 10 minutes. I consider this video, for example, a teaching video, so I try to keep it under 10. So that was week 3. Now, what about week 4? Well, this week we're going to talk all about assessment, our favorite. Okay, no, really, I think assessment is super important. After all, it's how we tell if our students are getting it, right? So you'll be working on more learning objectives, actually creating an assessment, and my favorite, Rubrics. Yeah, I'm a huge rubric nerd. I actually teach a class on rubrics here at the Cypher campus, should you ever want to take that class. The next thing I want to discuss is my nugget of the week. This week, I want to discuss standards and setting an appropriate standard for our online classes. And I'll be honest, sometimes when I approach online teaching, I feel this sense of trepidation and apprehension. Why? Because it's really, really hard to do well. I probably spend twice as long working on an online class than I do on a face-to-face class. Why is this? Honestly, it's the sheer amount of one-on-one communication we do with students. In a face-to-face class, you have 3 hours or more a week to actually share information with them. You give a lot of information out, and they have a chance to ask instant questions that can be answered in front of the entire class, and therefore, the entire class has the answers. Do you get emails in a face-to-face class? Of course, but not nearly so many as you get in an online class. So yeah, it's really, really time consuming. Though, for those of you who will be teaching a lot of online classes, your cohort mate, Jennifer, has some great tips for cutting back on the time spent. So definitely check out her posts about this. So why do I do it if it's so tough? Well, for me, it's all about the obligation to the students. I have heard time and again from students who say they take online classes because they're easier. That is, easier because there is less work than a comparable face-to-face class. And based on my conversations with many students, I believe them. You see, too many teachers don't set proper expectations for what should happen in an online class. I've heard from students who spend 1 or 2 hours a week on their other online classes, and they get A's in those classes. I've heard this often enough to believe it. I think what a lot of online instructors are missing out on is the fact that an online version of the class should replicate what students are doing in the face version of the class as much as possible. These classes should contain similar assignments whenever possible, similar activities, similar lectures. Yes, we have to adapt the material to an online environment. That doesn't mean we water anything down. One thing I see is that many online instructors are ignoring the expected time expenditures for a class. Now, if we have a 3-credit hour class, we need to replicate that time online and then do the regular workload on top of it. So if a student is doing between 6 and 9 hours of homework in a 3-credit face-to-face class, this is kind of the standard using the expectation of 2 to 3 hours of out-of-class work for every credit hour. They should be doing 6 to 9 hours of work in our online class, plus 3 hours of work to replace the contact hours they're missing. That's a total of up to 12 hours in this example. That means students will be spending up to 12 hours of time working on one of our fully online classes, if it's a 16-week, 3-credit hour class. Of course, if you have an accelerated semester or a class that has a lab or more contact hours, you will need to adjust accordingly. Ultimately, this is what we must do. We owe it to our students to give them the same education in an online class they would get in a face-to-face class. If we make the class easier, we are cheating them out of the education they have paid for. We're also hurting other instructors who are trying to do the right thing. Okay, I mean, you're hurting me. I am so sick of students coming to me and saying, wow, you gave me 9 hours of homework this week. That's more than twice as much as my other online classes. I try to explain that these other classes are just not rigorous enough, but mostly they just see my classes overly hard. So please, for me, make these classes at the standard we should expect for all students. Okay, so off my soapbox for another week. We are over halfway done. Can you taste the cake yet? Yeah, there is cake at the end of this journey. No, literally, I will buy you all cake if you're willing to come to my campus at the end of the semester. I would love to get together with you all if you want. And for realsies, what can I do better? Please do let me know. This is only my 3rd time teaching this course, and I'm already coming up with some great ideas for the 4th time. I do want more, so please help me out. Anyway, have a great week.